everybody, Tekking101 here. Before we get to the review, I just want to make a little bit of a note to show off this awesome drawing that Jim Latusek from Jim's Nerd Nation made for me. It is Ichigo in his Bankai, Ichigo in his Uber Jedi Hollow form. I was actually going to hang this up, but it looks so good, I didn't really want to ruin it by punching it full of thumbtacks, so I think I might get a copy of this and put it up here. But, yeah, he sent me 2 more One Piece ones, too. You can find them on my fan page. So, great artist. He also does the One Piece and the Attack on Titan reviews. So, go check him out on his channel, Jim's Nerd Nation. I've endorsed him once before, but link is in the description below because this is freaking epic. Everybody, Tekking101 here to review Bleach chapter number 552, entitled The Fundamental Virulence. What is the fundamental virulence? What even is a virulence? You will find out in your science book. Moving on. So we continue from the last chapter with Cang and Basby. They're glaring at each other while standing over Toshiro's half-dead, burnt-out, finger-banged body. Basby states for Cang to go find his own prey because he's already fought this one for so long, but Cang states that Yuha's directive was apparently to send all the Stern Raiders that have previously stolen the Bankai to finish off the captains that have the Bankai. Now, originally when I first read this, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this has something to do with the recovery of the Bankai. Maybe Yuha knew that there was a flaw in their Bankai stealing method, and if the longer you keep the captains around that had their Bankai stolen, the longer that they might figure this out. So maybe that's why Yuha said, okay, I want you to go and finish these guys off as quickly as possible, otherwise, they're going to figure this way out to reverse it. Not really how that goes at the end of this chapter, I mean, sort of, kind of, but I don't think Yuha would have known about this crucial weakness, what Urahara is going to explain later on. So then Cang, I guess, drops Rangiku's. I don't think she's dead. She's clearly knocked out unconscious and she's bleeding from her neck, but I don't think she's dead, and drops her seemingly lifeless body right next to Toshiro, who gazes on in just abject terror. Cang then reaffirms the fact that since all captains apparently have a special bond with their lieutenants, it's only fitting that they should both die side by side. He then reveals that he is Sternritter I, the Iron, Cang. Things that live together should die together. That's my motto. And it's even more funny when you consider the way carbon binds to the iron molecule. You could actually take what Cang says in more of a chemistry joke. No one cares! Right then. Finally realized what Cang reminds me of. It took me a little bit. He reminds me of Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Seriously, do you not see it? Throw a scar on him, he is fucking Zuko. Anyway, the Iron. I really wouldn't have called that because, I mean, he has the Wolverine claws, but I really never would have just jumped to that because all the Stern Raiders have some type of weapon that's made out of some metal. I don't know what his abilities are really going to imply other than his claws. Maybe they have some special ability, whatever. It's a moot point at the end of the day because he just proceeds to activate Toshiro's stolen Bankai, Daiguren Hiyori Maru. I don't know why it took me this long in this series to make a joke about this. Team Daiguren! Get it? Because Daiguren, Dai means great, and Guren from the Gurren Lagann anime, and it's funny because that's in his Bankai's name, so therefore... okay, whatever, this joke's dead. Alright, so he activates it, looks really awesome with his ice wings too, and he states that this is your Bankai. I'm sure it's the first time you're seeing it from the receiving side. You never know. There was that one time that Toshiro and Hyorimaru got drunk at that office Christmas party, and Hyorimaru kind of went crazy and manifested and almost wiped out the entire 10th Division barracks, but we don't talk about that anymore. Anyway, he brings something up that a lot of people were actually questioning, and that was if the original owner of the Bankai were to die, would the Bankai disappear along with it, even if it was stolen by a Stern Raider? And Cang states that no. If he was able to kill Toshiro right now, then it would allow his Bankai to live on even after his demise. And it truly breaks his heart. Oh my god, that's so sad. I feel so much pain and understanding for this character. Fuck it, I'm just going to call him Zuko Stern Raider from now on. Okay, so we get the title page, The Fundamental Virulence. What is it? We will find out. And we cut back over to the conversation between Mayuri and Urahara. He's still talking to him over the phone, and he states that he's pinpointed the weakness to the stealing the Bankais. He's figured out a way to not only stop people from getting their Bankai stolen by Stern Raiders, but also a way to reverse that what's already had been done to them. And then we have a little bit of chatter from the 12th Division members that are like, holy crap, Urahara is a genius. And we had a little side gag where one's just like, you shut your mouth, what are you talking about? Because he's in the presence of Mayuri. I was expecting, right there, I was expecting the way Mayuri is to not... He wouldn't turn and see him. He would just, like, hear this guy talking smack about him from behind his back. He would still be on the phone with Urahara, and it would just be kind of like, holy crap, Urahara's a genius! Yeah, well, I don't know, man. I mean, this is kind of a moot point. So I guess Urahara off-screen kind of just reiterates all of his data that he's collected, and Mayuri concurs that it's indeed impressive data, but he also states that it's neither here nor there, because he bugged Mayuri's outfit by... I don't know how this works, because this outfit he's wearing was something that he just created, so maybe it was like he's like wearing it over top his normal outfit, and Urahara bugged that somehow, maybe using cone, and Mayuri doesn't give a fuck about anything involving the Bankais, how to fix it, how to reverse it. He doesn't care about any of that. What is on his prime directive right now is that Urahara Kisuke fucked with his shit. And that is enough to him just to, you know what, see you, bye. Man, he's like, wait, hold on, you're actually seriously gonna hang up on me? This is like important shit. Just kidding. Oh my god, I can't tell you how long we've been waiting for a chapter where to get these two in a room together. This is going to be gold, you know. We had that one little back, like the flashbacks and Turn Back the Pendulum, but, you know, that's not as good as right now, because it's even more funny because this is in a state of emergency. This is when, you know, all this crap's going on outside with the Stern Ridders, like the entire Sayurte has literally been washed over by the Shadow Dimension, and these two can have just comic relief going on, because they work so well off each other. It's like watching like a 60s sitcom or something. You know, in fact, introducing the newest show to the Soul Society Network for television. He's a mild-mannered candy shop employee and exiled to the Soul Society, and he's the captain of the 12th Division and his successor. Put them together and say hello to the volatile couple! Da-na-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Mayuri, did you see my hat? I have a meeting with Ishin in an hour and I can't find it anywhere. Oh, I'm sorry, Kisuke. I threw it in the wash this morning. Oh, but Mayuri, I also threw my red socks in there this morning. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kisuke. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll look fine without a hat. Well, yeah, I guess so, but just try to be more careful next time about my Is that a human corpse? No, of course not. I'm just cooking breakfast. No, that's definitely a human corpse. I can totally see his small intestines just pouring out of him. Sausages! His eyes are boiling out of their sockets. Poached eggs. His skin is being pulled apart by rusty hooks. Extra crispy bacon. Fine, whatever. I guess that bag of pee is what, orange juice? What? No, that's just something else I have going on. That's disgusting. Bought some Folgers. Oh, Mayuri. Next week on The Volatile Couple, things get heated up when Urahara Kisuke's old Soul Society flame comes to town. Kisuke, what are you talking about? You have a new partner for the dance contest. I'm sorry, Mayuri, it's just my old friend Yoruichi came to town, and one thing led to another, and she's gonna be my dance partner for the Kabuki contest. But we've been rehearsing our routine for weeks now. This isn't fair. I'm sorry, pal, but she's just a little bit more limber, if you know what I mean. I don't know what you mean by that, but... Kisuke! 1960s television. Alright, so Kisuke kind of sweet-talks Mayuri to the point, or basically just says, like, hey, look, you know, you don't like me, I don't like you, but this whole situation's gonna go downhill fast. We need to work together. Mayuri kind of even rejects this idea, stating that there's no place to work in because his entire 12th Division has been taken over by the Vandenreich, to which Kisuke just points out, wait a second, what about that one room that you literally just said like an hour ago that was completely isolated from the entire Vandenreich? So they head on in there, and apparently Mayuri's personal laboratory was the size of the regular laboratory because they have enough space in there for all the 12th Division members to fit, and they have all this equipment in there that's still perfectly functioning. They're trying to link up with all the parts in the Soul Society that were taken over by the Vandenreich, like the cameras and the communication devices and whatnot, with mixed success. They're somewhat able to connect, but other things they're not able to connect at all because of the... I mean, I'm assuming the Soul Society is still there in a sense. It's just, you know, overlapped by the Shadow Dimension at the moment. Urahara messes around in his cloak a little bit. Pro tip, usually when you see Urahara Kisuke messing around with something in his kimono, that's when you should probably start running in the opposite direction. Not on this occasion, though, because he pulls out something called Shinkeiuko, or Shinkayaku? Shinayaku. Translator notes! Shadow invading pills. That's a cool name. So basically, he states that these pills are in fact, well, we'll find out later, but these pills are basically micro fractions of hollow powers condensed in pill form. And basically, the whole premise here is that Urahara Kisuke, after he discovered that the Quincy's could steal a Bankai, he decided to stay in Hueco Mundo and do a little bit more research. Not just for the fact that, I mean, I originally assumed he didn't want to jump into the Soul Society because his Bankai might get stolen, but it wasn't because of that. It was more just doing research on the Resurrection, because the Resurrection with the Arankars are based off of the Bankai, because, you know, Arankars are hybrid with Shinigami, so it makes sense that they would have some ability, at least on the opposite end of the spectrum, they would have some ability that's akin to Bankai. So Resurrection is this, and Urahara came up with the conclusion that, okay, if the Quincy's can steal the Bankai of the Shinigami, then it stands to reason they should be able to steal the Resurrection of the Arankar. But despite all the Arankar that the Ayakto army or Quilji's army decided to capture, not one of them had the Resurrection stolen by any of the Quincy's. And Urahara comes up with two viable explanations for this. Number one, they just couldn't do it, which is he just debunks right away, because he stated the previous aforementioned about how they could steal the Bankai, so therefore there shouldn't be any reason why they shouldn't steal the Resurrection, because it's basically the same type of power here, so that's not it. Or if they could steal the Resurrection, they would kind of have some detrimental to the Quincy's health. Like, they could do it, but it would cause some negative effect on their bodies if they attempted it. And that's what it comes up with, and that ends up being the truth. So this is basically the solution for recovering the stolen Bankai. Mayuri grudgingly agrees with this, and Akon states that all the captains have been reached and linked up using the Tente Kura network. Urahara taps into the network and delivers a message to all the captains and vice captains of the Gotei. And I love Shinji's little comment here, because Urahara states over the network that some of you might not know who I am, but that's not important right now. Just please listen to me. And Shinji's just sitting there, and he's just being, I don't know if he's in a fight right now. He's just sitting there being like, he's like, yeah, as if no one knows who you are at this point, dumbass. I mean, really, it's at this point like, he was in exile for 100 years, but he was the guy that devised the Tenkai Ketchu, and even just random members of the 12th Division knew about the guy, so I'm assuming like this is like common knowledge that there's this really intelligent, super genius exiled Shinigami that's just hanging out in the world. I don't even know if he's exiled at this point. I really don't think he is, because this is the first time we've seen him in the Soul Society ever since ever, excluding the movies, of course, and the filler arcs. And, you know, the first time he attempted to do it, he got, like, shocked back by the Senkaimon, but this time they let him in completely fine, so I'm assuming that his exile was removed. He just chooses to stay in the world of the living just because, you know, he's just a boss like that, I guess. But anyway, he also delivers the black pills over the Tente Kura. I'm not sure how this works. I'm assuming the Tente Kura network can deliver, you know, small items. I mean, we've never seen them deliver, like, massive weapons or anything like that, or anything that can be insanely helpful. But I'm assuming with the Tente Kura network, if it can carry your voice, it can carry small pieces of matter, which these are like pill-sized things, so I'm assuming, you know, that would work, whatever, I'll just roll with it. I mentioned, because, you know, it's kind of the only real thing that punches a hole in this, but it really doesn't, is if Urahara states that Quincy's cannot absorb hollow-based powers, or hollow-based resurrections. Okay, well, you might say, what about that one time Quilji absorbed Alon's powers using Sklavre? Alon, although we're not completely sure if he's a hollow, he was brought together with hollow powers, so let's just say for the sake of argument, he is a hollow. How could Quilji do that? Well, I'm going to go on the fact, and someone sent me a message over this, I cannot remember your name, damn it, I think it was God of... But I'll put your name down here. I'm really sorry. He sent me a PM stating this over YouTube, and he stated that in this situation, stealing the Bankai is not a complete absorption like Sklavre is. Sklavre, by name and definition, is the complete slavery of Reishi. You could take slavery and you can turn it into whatever you want. It's under your complete control. You're basically god of the Reishi in that situation. But it's not the same thing with the Bankai, because as we see coming up here, the Bankai is still connected to their Shinigami in at least a little bit of way. It's not a complete control if there's at least some connection left between the captain that it was originally stolen from. So in that situation, I'm going to be like, when you use Sklavre, you completely take over the Reishi and you break it down to the point where maybe with Quilji, maybe he could remove the parts that were damaging to him, or he can convert the Reishi into something else that wasn't detrimental to his health. But at some way, he just made it himself, and he just converted it into his own power. That's basically what that is, a conversion technique, if nothing else, whereas the stealing the Bankai is basically just copy and pasting it to something complete, to your own powers. Also with Quilji using the power of the of Sklavre, when he first absorbed Alon, he looked like this. He looked like a complete hulking brute form, but the next time we see him, the powers have slowly dissipated. His eyes and teeth are no longer as pronounced as they were using Alon's power. So I'm assuming also with Sklavre, this is going to dissipate over an amount of time. So whatever the case, it isn't the same thing as just like controlling hollow powers or stealing the Resurrection. It's completely different levels there. Urahara states that all you need to do is touch the pill. It doesn't matter with what part of your body or even your sword. And once touched, it will permeate into your soul and activate its power. One more final conversation between Mayuri and Urahara, asking exactly what the whole purpose of Quincy's despising hollows is. And, you know, this was something I always just wondered, like, because up until a couple chapters ago, when it was stated with the backstory with Masaki, I always assumed the complete opposite of Quincy's were hollows, because that's the one they're always fighting, and the opposite of Shinigami were humans, because that's, you know, life and death right there. But it was completely flipped. The opposite of Shinigami is the Quincy's, hollows, and humans. And the reason the Quincy's hate the hollows so much is not because of any real ideological reason. I mean, because the hollows don't have any kind of culture. Well, they sort of kind of did. They had kind of like a monarchy thing going on here. But, you know, just random hollows that are just, you know, brutes and beasts. You know, how would you, like, how can you legitimately hate something that's just an animal? I mean, that's like saying, I really hate fucking honey badgers. You know, because, yeah, a honey badger in one-on-one combat could probably mess up a human quite well, unless you have a gun or something, but it's no reason to really hate honey badger kind, because they're just animals. They have no culture, they have no ideology, they're just animals. So why would you hate something so much? Unless it's something far more basic than just, you know, hating somebody because of their ideology. It's hating or despising something because your existence is in jeopardy. Your just primal fear because of these things, as not referenced here. But basically, it's just these Quincy's have no natural protection against the hollows, in a sense that if a hollow were to devour a Quincy, they wouldn't even get they would not, their soul would get devoured as well, and they wouldn't even have the disparity of hollification like what Shinigami do. They would just cease to exist, or they would become a hollow themselves, a la what almost happened with Masaki. So at that point, that's when the Quincy's had to devise methods to fight these things and basically just fight them off. If you want a comparison here, I don't know, let's just say zombies. I know it's kind of a weird comparison, but just bear with me here. If zombies actually existed, humans would be fighting them. It's not because we hate them in the sense that they're zombies and that they're, you know, they have some kind of viewpoint that differs from us. It's just more of an eat or be eaten situation here. Human beings are at the top of the food chain, of course, so I really couldn't think of another viable explanation, so that's why I had to use zombies. To reference something in the animal kingdom there, like, I don't know, lions eating gazelles or wolves eating deer, because humans, of course, have no natural predator. I don't know, unless I could just make one up. A giant shark with the Sharingan. Well, hi there, everybody. I'm Sammy, the Sharingan shark. I'm the most deadly predator on the entire planet. I hypnotize my prey, and then I go and bite their heads off and suck their blood out of their dried up husk. Nice to meet you, everybody. Do I have magic powers to just bring things into existence just by casually mentioning them? That needs to be exploited more. Anyway, Urahara finally states that what actually is made up of the shadow invading pills is actually a microfraction of hollow powers. So yeah, that's right. All of the captains and lieutenants, I guess, kind of just became honorary visors. Not really, because it's so small, it's such a minute quantity that it's not going to make them gain the masks, or it's not going to make them turn hollow like Ichigo did in his crazy, you know, super uber, you know, Jedi form. But it's just a microfraction enough just to kind of poison the well. Like you watch Doctor Who with the Weeping Angels, it's enough to poison the well in that regard, so that the Quincy's can't tap into their power anymore. And as with that being said, after Toshiro touches the pill and activates the ability, Kangdu's Bankai begins to break apart and blood starts to pour out of his wounds, as he can no longer handle the tainted abilities. So this makes a hell of a lot more sense. This makes a hell of a lot more sense when everything is considered. Number one, while none of the visored captains had their Bankais taken, why Ichigo's Bankai has never been taken. It also makes sense exactly why, a good connection to why the Bankai is still somewhat connected to the Shinigami. So it's not a complete hopeless thing that the Stern Ritters completely stole it and it's completely gone, like it's theirs now. There's some connection there. Otherwise, why would Toshiro having the pill now after his Bankai being taken affect his Bankai, which has already been taken? So, no, that makes a lot of sense. It also kind of makes sense here exactly why they were trying to enslave the hollows to a point, or make them work for them, because in a sense hollows they seem dirty to them, and of course that makes sense why you know, Yuha used his selection ability only on impure Quincy's. You want to get them out of the way so later on they might not be able to pose a threat to his entire, you know, empire, you know, not just for the sake that they were unclean, but just for the sake of that. You know, so it all comes back to the hollows being the prime enemy of the Quincy's, if you actually think about it. Like, they have the potential to actually pollute them and ruin their abilities, which we have clearly seen here. So So, next chapter, I mean, Toshiro might get his Bankai back, but at the same time, he's still been finger banged twice, and his entire body has like 2 charred holes in it. So, I mean, I'm thinking maybe if he gets his Bankai back, he can like freeze the wound and like, glue himself back together with ice. But I don't think he's still going to be able to fight, even if he does get his Bankai back. He might just be there and just be like lying on the ground. He might be like, "Oh my god, I got my Bankai back. How are you doing, Yorimaru? Nice to have you back, bro." And then pass out, because at that point he's gone. Soifo and I have no idea. But how would that work with BG9? Because BG9's a cyborg or robot or something. Like, how would that work with him? Like, would he, like, circuitry, like, overload because he can't take the hollow energy? Is it some kind of, like, he plugged in the wrong AC adapter or something? Like, what's, like, you can't use a PC cord for a Mac! You can't use a PC cord for a Mac! I don't have a Mac, so maybe you can, I don't know. Anyway, so, big revelation in this chapter. Not too heavy on the monologuing, but still enough to actually get where we're going here. Kind of tied a bunch of stuff together in terms of, why the Quincy's exactly hate hollows and why they view them as unclean and everything. And the conclusion they came to was, made a lot of sense in the grand scheme of things. I don't know if this is what exactly Urahara was working on with the Quincy pie, because, he was working on something that looked completely different from what the pills he pulled out were. So I don't even know how he gathered it. Maybe he had to use he had to take some samples from Grimjow in order to concentrate it and to make little, hollow pills or something. I don't know. But all I know is the counterattack begins now. Maybe not in the next chapter or so, but in the next couple of chapters, now that they have some method to fight back and recover the Bankai, I think we got this. I think we're going there, guys. It might actually, another thing too, since Kangdu's Bankai did not, we only see the one panel with Kangdu, but we don't really know if his Bankai is going to just transfer right back to Toshiro right away. It might take a long time to do it because it's only such a small amount of hollow powers. So it might not be like right away, but there's still the counterattack's clearly there. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Tekking101 signing out.